Yeah, we had a high school rodeo this weekend, first weekend of regionals. Abby Sanders done well. I think she was first and third in barrels.
And the average.
Yeah, won the average. Rest of our kids, I don't think done so well. They just kind of just were there.
I think
New Underwood, right?
And next weekend we'll be in Underwood.
Kylie Eller can also qualify for state.
No, did she?
Yes. Yep. I think she got 80 at regionals. It said in the report she had enough points to qualify for state.
Gotcha.
Or go time. So,
Gotcha. Yeah, you gotta have 3 points or more. State will be in Fort Pierre,
Fort Pierre.
and that'll be the following weekend, Father's Day weekend. But finish on Saturday. So, yeah.
Move on to conflict of interest. We'll move on to consent agenda.
Make motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say sign. Jump down to facilities. The CTE Community Housing Project update.
Okay, I'll cover that just a little bit. Right now, just so everyone knows where we're at with the CT housing project is the information has, maybe you guys saw, we're trying to get more people interested in the donations part of it, so we're doing some social media stuff out there right now. I am now under an account where I can see, like, if we do a social media release, we can see if it's working, you know, if people are going to donate money to it, so we can go in there and kind of monitor where we're at with it. So that'll be nice to see, you know, what strategies are working the best. We are going to be having a meeting with Brenda Block and then also our CTE teachers, and she has wants to help us, I'll put it that way, in developing partnerships. And I think that can be tied into the CTE community housing project. So that's going to be going on. The blueprints, we want to call them that, for the house has been given to the city. So the city folks have that. Their engineers will be looking at it. And they're, you know, just like, you know this, and Larry, we talked about that lot, the lots that they have, they're kind of narrow and long lots, so they're looking at the design of the house and seeing how it's gonna fit there. So I'll be going through that process. I will be meeting with Black Hills Area Community Foundation on, I think it's, help me out, June 15th, I believe, is what I told you. And we're gonna be talking about some different things relating to the CTE community project, housing project, but we're also going to be talking a little bit about our 529 plan for our little kindergartners. So that's kind of where we're at with that. As soon as we have that more, I guess, of an approval from the city, then I'll be meeting with this committee. We'll be talking a little bit more. I'll talk about this committee, facilities committee, talking a little bit more in lines about how we're going to roll this out for 26, 27, 28 school year. So, questions on that?
I've asked enough, Jenny, already.
Yeah, it's good. So,
Sounds good, thank you very much.
yeah. You guys want to talk about the rest of the stuff we discussed in our meeting?
Good, Larry.
Okay. We want to talk the driver's ed proposal a little bit.
That's coming up later.
There's some kitchen upgrades that we need to do in the high school, in that serving kitchen, warming kitchen. We're out of compliance with the health department. So Kevin is working on getting some updated quotes. We have some old quotes. But we're gonna, at minimum, we gotta add a ceiling in there, some stainless steel wall panels, 3-compartment sink, and some counters. To just, it's not completely what we need to do to get done, but we gotta get what we can done this year to get sort of in compliance. There's a lot of work Kevin and his crew have to get done by August, so.
It's not gonna really be a choice thing. We're gonna have to do it this year.
So they're gonna have to get on it pretty quick, and, cause this stuff, just knowing from experience, the lead times are not good usually, so. We gotta get moving. There's some electrical needs done, fire sprinklers. So,
Are we doing it in-house or are we hiring it out?
Some of those.
both.
How do we get so far behind?
Well, the stuff got brought up this year because the health inspector walked through. And then, so Finn and I have been working on coming up with a plan. So everything we're doing this year is gonna make everything in compliance unless they find something new, but the health record that they gave, or sheet they gave us is everything that they marked off, it's gonna be fixed this summer. I think, like they got laminate countertops in there. So I think over time, it just started to peel up, it got to a point where, it's peeling up, that's a health and safety violation type thing.
And we have to have a ceiling, per the health department, you have to have a clean wipeable ceiling anywhere you serve food.
So I don't know how it's gotten this.
I don't know how we got by.
Maybe they never looked at
That's what I'm wondering, because never heard of that.
Yeah, so there's Tammy sent me a long laundry list of things that they've asked to get replaced over the years, and now that's what we're doing. You can't afford to do it all in one shot, just to be honest. So we're gonna take like 3 to 4 things a year and tackle it, and then we'll get everything where it needs to be at upgrade wise, so we'll get it taken care of.
Then start over.
And then start over, yeah.
And
So,
what we need to do will put us back in compliance to,
yeah, we just sort of announced, we are compliant. Right now, this stuff that we're talking about, if we don't get it fixed, then we're going to get dinged on it next year, because they've been like giving us grace. And
Okay,
so now
Yeah,
we're
for
not
some
getting
reason,
it.
we've got by,
Right,
so how,
okay.
but it's, we gotta put our best foot forward and get some of this addressed.
Good.
So hopefully we get updated quotes and we can get moving quickly, because school starts here real soon.
Is this stuff in the budget that we looked at last month? Or is this stuff that we-
With the rough estimates, it is in the budget that we looked at, yes, we don't have the exact quotes yet,
For the 26-27 budget.
yes.
And some of that was in this last year's, but like ceiling. and
Yes.
stuff, right?
little stuff like that, yes, we're in my budget to do. So I'm getting stuff this year, stuff will be ordered for next year, so nothing extra.
I'm just making sure we had that in the rough estimate.
The estimates are there.
Sure.
Okay. Next, over at elementary, they're working on get the playground done. They're adding some concrete, some hard surface areas, so there were some missing pieces or parts for some of the playground equipment, but they're gonna get some concrete laid down, so they got room for, what do you call it, foursquare? And some areas to play and get the mulch down, just get it fixed up, so it's safe for the kids to be in, so they're working on that. The next big thing was, we had quite a discussion on buses. We got some options to look at. We talked in the last meeting, Landmark or Harlow's, it's now Landmark, is only guaranteed X buses for this coming year, and it will not cover all the activities. So we are in discussions trying to figure out if we can go to Dakota Bus potentially for activities, and we're looking at buying at least 2 of our own activity buses. We're trying to figure out the numbers, possibly use some of the leftover money from the CTE project to fund some of this and get headed in the right direction, have our own at least activity buses run a year or 2 and see how it goes. So, because in the height of sports seasons, we're looking at, what do we say, 5 to 6 activity buses, so we use a lot. And just last year, our activity and charter buses cost us about $110,000 just last school year, just the activities portion, so.
And that's the price of the buses.
Half of it was.
Can I get you the list?
Half of it was.
Regular
Great.
price.
You can, just so you know, board members all know, you're talking about executive buses, executive coach bus, you're talking, depends upon what year it is, but anywhere from 405,000 down to probably 370-some thousand.
Yep.
For a 44 activity, bus with the undercarriage, you're probably looking at about 205,000, and then if you give it at the undercarriage, you're still probably looking at 190-some thousand, 180 to 190,000
For brand new.
brand new.
But if we're gonna start out having some of our own buses, we might as well start out with new buses and not be fighting, use broke down things like Landmark likes to drive, so. We need to do better for our kids, so.
And we know the summer's short, so we're gonna stay on this in the next couple of weeks and try.
So we've kind of tasked him with getting us some information as soon as possible. If we need a special meeting, we'll have to have one, but we don't have a lot of time. So, yes, school just got out, but August will be here before we know it. And that's pretty much a wrap on our committee meeting. Yep.
You guys not get to the preschool area?
We did not get to the preschool area. You want me to mention what's going on in preschool? Sure. Okay, so real quick with the preschool, everything looks really good over in the Custer site, so we shouldn't have any issues with that. We will have some issues that the YMCA and ourselves are, in discussion on right now. They have to have their people come out here to give the approval. They love the site, so it's not a big deal. It's just that we're gonna have to probably look at, is it sink, I believe, and
Dishwasher.
a dishwasher in that bath room I have.
Clear down there.
Yeah, or the other end of the building, so, and we're gonna work on, there is no cost to this, to the district. We're working on finding some people outside to assist with it right now. So I'll be able to tell you more once I learn more about it as well. So I do want to compliment Keys and Christie because they've been really good about sending all of us emails on their process with the inspection. In the meantime, one of the things that we'll be doing on our end of it is making sure that we're covering the food service part of it, so that those little kids, 3, 4s, and 5s, are able to eat here at the school, and all the reimbursed stuff comes back to the school, and we just handle that part of it, so. All right?
Sounds good. Questions?
One last comment I had on the buildings and grounds is we still got a little time, but our CTE 1-year warranty is up November 10th, so hopefully anything coming up, we need to keep a list of, because they should schedule a walkthrough about early October, the architect and contractors. So we gotta stay on top of that, make sure we're tracking anything that is an issue with warranty before we're out of warranty. And then the remodel is December 15th or 17th. So we've got 2 completion dates on the project that are pretty close
You
together.
guys that, because they worked through the Christmas break and finished that, so right on. That's why.
Yeah, Carter sent over, I request, he sent me over the substantial completion letters for each phase to Kevin and I, so we have those. We just gotta stay on top of that, so we don't miss that window. And if there's any issues, we get it taken care of.
Tim's also gonna talk to Carter about the dirt. Instead of the green around the school, there's CP and that, nothing grass started.
Looks terrible. Sounds good.
Thank you.
I thought we discussed putting rocks in there on a walkthrough one day.
We did in a couple places, like in a small,
Yes.
but like that big island across, it never came along the building, in between the 2 buildings and everything. I think it should never miss it, that's what we did.
With the dry winters we had, I don't think that's a chance.
Sure. Sounds good. Move on to Business and finance, monthly cash flow. Sarah?
Yep, if we look at the budget to actual spending list, we do have a line item in general fund, that's student travel that is already overspent. We do have a couple credit card bills that have not hit that yet. That is quite simply due to the fact that fuel increased in a way we could not have predicted. So that is why that number is overspent. In the grand scheme of things, the general fund still has $2.5 million. It's only 78% overspent, or spent so far. So I'm not concerned about that number. I don't think it's going to be a problem anywhere else, but I don't know that we could have ever dreamt that fuel would have done what it did this year, and that's the only reason that number's changed. On the other sheet, thank you, Sarah, for pointing out something that I actually did catch earlier in the day and I did fix. I had the general fund still in red from last month because we hadn't had those taxes come through yet, so that should have been changed to black, so I did update that. And as I was reading through this today, in the second section there where it says fund balance totals, and you can see there's checking account, money market, and then the investments. We've been investing so much more money that I hadn't realized that the way this sheet is reporting information to you looks very skewed in that money market line. It looks like if you were to look in our savings account right now, you would see $1.4 million in the general fund. Somehow you would see minus $3.6 in the capital outlay fund, and that's not reality. That is just the way that the current layout of the spreadsheet is helping me do math. So don't think that that is what our money market actually has in it. If you go down to that next section where it says district grand totals and you see district savings, that number is accurate. So that's the number you want to look at for our savings account because we've moved so much money into investments right now. So I did notice that this week. I'm going to see if I can figure out a way to make this more accurate reporting. So anybody from the outside looking in on this and get a real picture of what fund balance is sitting in that savings account. I'm not quite sure how to do it. So the correct information is here. These are the correct fund balances. That one line looks a little off. And I have not updated the numbers in the district grand totals for the CTE and RBC savings or impact aid. I went in and looked at them today. We've got about an extra $550,000 in the CTE and about $117,000 in the impact aid numbers that we, at the end of the year, when I put all the interest in, you'll be able to see those. But I wanted to let you know those are growing, so these numbers aren't changed. Those go in at the beginning of the year, and we only do interest once at the end of the year. But we've received quite a bit of growth there. I did not bother to report on the changes in the budget for you. They are so minor that it didn't really seem worth talking about. We finally got our IDEA grant, so it's higher than we thought it was going to be. So there's a little bit more spending because there's a little bit more revenue. We saw a revenue increase in another grant that we're going to get for some reading materials. So the revenue budget has increased, the expenditure budget hasn't, but they're such minor changes that it wasn't worth showing you all the big pieces.
Question?
That scholarship fund, did we give out any scholarships out of that this year?
Yes, we are doing those right now. So they're in this current check batch, and that had not come through when I did this piece of information. So yes, we are seeing that change, but the way that when we pay bills doesn't always match up with when you do this reporting. So yes,
How
we
many
are.
scholarships are we given?
I remember seeing 3. There's only 3. There might be a 4th one in there.
Are them 1,000?
They're $500 each. Anybody that's going to pursue CTE gets $500 to the school. It gets paid to the school, not to the student. So that will change next month.
We'll still have about 10,000 left.
Mhm.
Is that out of that donation Curbs did when we
Yes.
built this building?
Part of it, and part of it is for the new building. They gave money. Some of it went to tools and some of it went to scholarship for the CTE building.
The kids have been really good too, just so everybody knows, it's about sending the school thank you cards for some of these scholarships. That does not happen everywhere, so it's nice to see.
And how are we getting this info to our kids in our district so that they realize CTE is a really broad spectrum and it's not just woodworking, welding? Do a lot of our students know about this?
Well, one of the things is, it goes back to the partnerships that we're always talking about partnerships. And I think it's pretty easy to drive by our school and see that we're, strong in building trades, metal fabrication, things like that. But, remember what, I shared with some of you that through that Encourage survey, one of the things that we have a huge interest, our girls, there's 52% of our girls want to go into health science, right? And I think that that's where we, with our partnerships that we establish, not just here in, Custer County, but also, let's face it, in Pennington, creating more opportunities for our kids, whether it's through Western Dakota Tech or other schools that are out there. I think if we can get them to come into our school, do the introductions and stuff, and then get our kids, that's where it's a positive, having those partnerships where we can travel, we can get our kids to see different things that are out there.
I guess my question was more driven, how do we get this information to all our kids that know this scholarship's available they can apply for?
Yeah, I think that's just something you gotta keep on working on. I know that Mrs. French does I think a very good job. Just that as scholarships come about, we just have to make sure that we are promoting it in the way that kids will see it. Kids was one thing that they're always on, right? So we have to make sure that we're putting it out there in different places. The other thing I think we have to do too is, and I was very thankful going to that scholarship presentation that Toby and his staff organized, Tiffany. I think we have to do a better job of also reaching out to the people that are sponsoring the scholarships and getting them into our buildings, getting them in front of our students to help them promote, what they're there for, whether it's the medical field or whatever it may be. So.
And I just ask because it seems like 3 out of a class of 60 or whatever is pretty low numbers. And I know Kurt's have asked me, why don't more kids apply for these scholarships that we get money for? I have no idea. Maybe they don't know about it. That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah.
We talk to kids all the time. We find out what they're kind of going into, and we tell them about all those scholarship opportunities. I thought it was more than 3. I remember there was
It
more
might.
than 3.
Let me see if I can.
I thought we were more at 5 or 6, honestly. So
Yeah, I can't remember.
I can't remember.
I
Yeah,
thought there was about 5 or 6 when we did it that
Yeah, I
once
think so.
But, I could be wrong too.
And I might not have all the information yet either. That's very possible because I didn't see the bill piece. I didn't see that piece of it.
Any other questions? Move on to 7.2 meal pricing amendment. Terry, you want to go through that?
Sure. Per House Bill 1082, school districts are not allowed to charge for reduced price meals. And when you approved the meal pricing on May 11th at the regular board meeting, those reduced prices were still included. So we would like to amend the approved meal price list to have those removed.
So you either pay all or none.
There's no such thing as reduced.
They qualify for reduced, but they won't have to pay 30 cents or 40 cents. It'll be free. The state reimburses us for reduced meals.
That's
Just, the state will pay the reimbursement.
They already do.
Reduced part.
They already do, yes.
Okay.
Yes, this is just they no longer want there to be a monetary burden on families that qualify for reduced because they still have lower income.
So reduced, so it's
Free.
It's all free.
Yeah, the
But-
state, the House Bill.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah, all free
House Bill 1082.
for the free and reduced.
It's a bill that was passed this year during legislation that approved to pay for the reduced meals for our kids. So it's good.
It's very good. Yep, so we just need a motion to,
we need a motion to approve the amended pricing sheet schedule.
I'll make a motion.
I'll say that.
thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Move on to 7.3, property liability insurance. Looks like that was going down.
It is
Somehow.
dropping by almost $49,000 from what we paid last year to this year. That was all the property side, it's not the liability side. Jeff did question today if the CTE building is included in that. I included the CTE building and all the renewal information that I provided to the company when I did that in January. So I have assumed that it is in there. I did ask a very specific pointed question to make sure that we do not have to pay anything more for the CTE building. I've not heard back yet. She didn't respond to my email yet, but my assumption is that it is in there because I provided the information. So we will find that out for sure. But it was very exciting to see that drop almost $50,000. And it actually came to us last week, and it was only about 20,000, and then they dropped it again. So we're pretty excited. And just a reminder that we are now able to move the property section of that into our capital outlay fund. And we do not need to pay for that from general fund. Liability insurance still needs to stay in general fund. That is going to be a change in the budget too.
So in that proposal, does it list out all our properties that are covered, or it's
I
just?
couldn't find it.
It does not, because it's provided to them in advance as part of the renewal process. There's a gigantic spreadsheet with how every building is made, when it was made, what the roof is made of. It's a very detailed information sheet that I give to them, and it does not appear in the paperwork that we get back.
One of the things I think that we need to ask protective, ASBSD Protective Trust, correct?
Mhm.
I said that right? Is that they should be yearly sending us a hard copy, not just a digital copy, but it goes through and it covers everything that you're talking about for each one of our schools. Not just the brick and mortar part of it, but it's also, you open the lid, the roof, it's like everything that's inside of it. So if we know what that total coverage is going to look like, so we'll work on that.
So do we carry liability coverage on our building that the YMCA uses? And do they also carry? Because they're renting,
We're covering it. We have property liability on that building.
but don't they have to carry something to cover because they're using our building for?
You have to have a liability policy for, like,
Like a tenant,
yeah,
they need to have a tenant.
I think it's over, it has to be well over $1 million that they carry, yeah.
if something happened with somebody while they were operating as part of the building, we cover that.
If it's in our name, we have to carry the insurance.
It's no different. You go to the fairgrounds, the county carries insurance, but if you put it on the van, you gotta have your own insurance.
And one last thing, this does not include the cyber policy that will be coming to us at a different time and will be an additional expense in the general fund, this cyber policy. It is not included in this.
Okay, looks like we need a motion for the liability renewal.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
You can have it right now, yeah, put it in your lights.
I know. That's what I said. Are you sure the CTE is in there?
Keep rebuilding that.
Yes,
Be great.
we should build some more to keep driving.
How about that, Jim?
And Jeff, before you move on, just to get back to the scholarship, I have only seen 3 bills. That doesn't mean more of those were not awarded. I've only seen 3 of those come through.
We also had to agree with the VFW auxiliary, when they did $1,000 scholarships as well.
There's also a fine line of getting the scholarship and actually turning it in. That's what my son.
There is that
do.
They actually have to go in order to get it.
And they have to fill out the form and turn it in.
But there is some scholarship that nobody applies for, so I mean, it just depends, so.
We have had that, yeah. Been doing this something. And we have talked with the people who put on the scholarship, kind of explain that to them, and talking about, what we do when we have another people do it. And most of the time they are, but, they're very specific on what they want.
Right.
But the CP one's so broad that it covers a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, move on to 7.4, Black Hills Educational Benefits Co-op update.
Sarah, do you want to talk a little bit about insurance? Or Terry?
I mean, so how the pool is working, it's working how it needs to. I had a meeting with Dr. Tim the day after, and I gave him my booklets that go through and explain how specific high claimants are costing our pool so much money. So essentially, we have what's called a stop loss. So once a claimant reaches 125,000, after that, any of that money doesn't come out of our pocket. Blue Cross Blue Shield pays for that. So we have 7 of them over that threshold that are above that. They are ranging anywhere from cancer diagnoses to end-stage renal failure to just all kinds of broad spectrums. And then we have potentially 7 more that are on that threshold. More than likely, by the time we have our next meeting, at least 3 of those will be over, because one of them was like 5,000 from reaching that. 27% of the increase is actually coming from pharmaceuticals, with the specialty drugs, with the changing in the tier ratings. There's a bunch of different things that are driving that. There's also a newer, it's not new, but it's newer cancer drug. One claimant on our policy has had 10 strips, and it's like $100,000 that they are costing alone, just with that prescription. So right now our plan, if I remember the figures right, we're at 113%, so we're a little bit over budget. By the time the numbers come around and round out, they project we will be right on budget. So we're pretty good. We're feeling pretty good about that 10% increase. So the other thing that a lot of you guys probably don't know is we are sitting at a decent sized reserve. It's over $6 million in that reserve that we have. And because of that reserve, the last few years, we've actually bought down the percentage increase. So like this year, they actually marketed that we should have had a 12.7 to a 13% increase in health insurance, but we opted to use some of that reserve to buy it down to that 10.7 increase. There have been a couple of years that we've bought it completely out where there were no increases. So the board is trying to do some good things. We have some great people in great positions. There is a lot of turnover this year. We have 2 or 3 business managers that are either retiring or leaving. And then Georgia, the lady that actually sits and does all the things, she is finally deciding to retire. So I'm happy for her, but I'm also nervous because she was actually the one that started that position. So nobody else has ever held that position. So she has a lot of teaching to somebody, but she'll be through our next meeting, I believe, and then after that, the next day is she's done, so.
Excellent. Terry, anything to add after that?
Nope, she covered it all. That was great.
Yeah. I want to thank Sarah for coming and sharing some of this information with me. I have spent some time with it. It's really interesting. If you guys want to look at these reports that they brought forward, it's crazy to think that 10 claimants get basically 33% our entire pool, it's 10 people. But the other thing that's neat about these reports also, if you go through them, there's some things in here that, I'm taking plenty of notes on it that we will be looking at as we look at our wellness policy going forward. There's information on here, what we can do better, helping our employees with healthier lifestyles. The other thing I thought that's really interesting here is when they show the demographics of the age, and then when people have like the critical things going on. I'm not quite there yet, so I feel good about that. But it's just good information. I think we need to do a better job of as a system, as an organization, sharing this information out with our school employees. So we're going to look at some different things that we can do during our PD that revolves around this as well. So.
Oh, and I kind of forgot to mention, so in there also, Blue Cross Blue Shield has a lot of programs on the side that are free to our employees regarding if they need help with their annual wellnesses, like where to go, or if they have those chronic kidney disease, or if they have something else, behavioral or mental health, whatever it may be. There are programs built into our system that they can access for free that will help them on their path to getting better or finding treatment or whatever that may be. So there's a lot of stuff that is built into the policy that I think, 12 people have taken advantage of on the policy. Like it breaks it down in there for you. So I think that's also something that we need to be better about to getting it out to all of the employees, is that there are additional benefits within your benefit to make you better and live longer, healthier lives for you, your families, and everybody else.
Yeah, we could definitely do a better job on that because Wellmark does send out emails and, updates constantly on what services that they provide in addition to the policy. And we can just follow up with that, with your initiative as well.
Thank you.
Move on, 7.5, interfund transfers. This is the end of the year transfers that we talked about in the budget, but we gotta actually do them now, right?
Yes, it is required for our audit. It is a requirement, it's something that is looked at very carefully every year, that we do need to have you initiate. Even though we did say, yes, we're going to do this in the budget, our auditors want to see at this meeting that you state the amount of money that is going to be moved from fund to fund. So you can do that as, you can wrap all these up into one motion, you can do it as 3 separate ones, but they want to see each of those listed individually.
Do we need the exact amounts in the motion?
I have them in the minutes right now, so the, I believe I put them in there. The impact aid would be $750. That's pretty standard. We do that every year. For capital outlay, I have in there up to $700,000. I do not think we're going to need to move that much, but that was the budgeted amount. So I would like the motion to say up to that, just in case for some reason we need to move it. And the moving to preschool fund, that would be up to $72,000. It's not going to be that much. I know it's going to be around $40,000, depending on what the last payroll looks like. But if we leave that language up to 72, it matches what we put in the budget.
So we're moving money from where to where?
There are 3 different motions, or 3 different moves that we have to do. One is going to be from impact aid into general fund, which is standard. That happens every year. That's meant to be used every year to help us with our day-to-day operations. The next one is going to be out of capital outlay into general fund. And that is pretty standard. It's not usually for that amount of money, but we do that to help cover day-to-day costs as well. And that was budgeted at $700,000. I don't think we'll need that much. And the last one is from general fund to preschool, because we knew that we were going to have to cover some of the costs of preschool. We actually ended up getting quite a bit more tuition money than I thought we were going to when we made the changes. So we actually did really well tuition-wise, but we still do need to cover some of those costs. And you cannot move money from capital outlay to the preschool fund, so you have to go through that middleman of moving it to general fund and then moving it into the preschool fund.
Do you know the exact amounts of the transfers?
In July at some point, as I'm working through closing everything out, there's still a lot of bills I don't have. There's a lot of things I haven't seen yet. So probably August is more realistic.
We can just report on it.
Definitely.
We have to approve this now. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah, I can't do it, and I want to start working on this July 1st, so yes, I do need your approval at this meeting. And that's standard too, we do this every June.
A motion to approve the interfund transfers, you want to do them separately, or you can do as noted in the.
I'll make a motion as read for all three.
I'll second.
Corey and Brandy. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We'll move on to 7.6, capital outlay proceeds fund. Guessing Sarah, this is you too?
Yep, this is another good news one. When we got our loan, essentially, we had our capital outlay certificates, we asked for $8 million even. We got $8,515,000. So we put that extra money into a savings account, and it's been earning interest. It was able to earn interest with the $8 million for quite some time. And then as that $8 million got spent down, it continued to earn interest. So right now, there is over $1 million that is in one bank account that we need to move. It doesn't make a lot of sense to leave it in its own bank account because it's not making as much money anymore. We want to combine it with something else to make it more powerful. So I would recommend that we move it into the premium savings account that is at RBC, the one we opened just a couple months ago. We cannot combine it with impact aid funds. It has to sit, those have to sit by themselves. But if we put it into the savings account, it's going to earn a lot more interest because it's going to be sitting with that other $8 million, $9 million instead of sitting there on its own. And this allows us to figure out when we're going to use it, if we're going to use it this year for the buses that we talked about, if we're going to think about future buildings. At least we know that it's there and we can earmark where we're going to spend it.
And it's available at any time.
Correct.
We just gotta move it into the general fund to use it.
Yes.
Like if we were to buy buses, we gotta add that to the budget for 25, or 26, 27.
Yep, yes, it is. We don't have buses right now, and those we would pay for out of capital outlay fund. We would not pay for those out of general fund because they're big property. But where we're gonna put it, yes, we would be able to say in a moment's notice, I need 24 hours, and we'd be able to spend that money.
Okay.
The only way we wouldn't be able to do that is if we got a really great interest rate through T-bills and we invested some of that out into T-bills, like our impact aid money. We know we're not gonna use some of that, so I goes in T-bills. Treasury bills.
Also, just remember, just a little tidbit of information, remember your 45% for capital outlay. Don't think that, you have this massive amount set in capital outlay if we get, it's not that it's massive, but if we get. It's not that you can take 45% of that. You can only utilize 45% of what you generate in the year to go over to answer your question about going into general fund. So it's capital outlay expense, we're gonna pay for that out of capital outlay. So, thank you, Sarah, for the work on that.
Yes.
So you need a motion to move that?
I would like that. Yeah, I don't know that it's necessary, but I would like you to do a motion, please, to do that.
I'll make a motion to move it
Second.
As recommended.
as recommended.
Thank you, Barry. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
All right, one last thing about that. I will not do that until July 1st. It would be very messy accounting wise for me to do that right now and then have to try to figure out the last few days of the month. So that will happen on July 1st. So start a new year without that fund, without that.
For our new fiscal year.
Yes. Thank you.
On 7.7, the school board election results. Congratulations to Travis and Sarah and Larry, who re-elected for another 3 years.
There's a lot of people that turned out.
It was a good turnout.
Yeah.
I mean, across the county, all the way.
Hermosa had the biggest turnout they've been on a long time.
There,
Motion or anything else?
yes, there's just a sheet that, the tally sheet needs to be signed by each board member. Jeff, it's in your folder, so if that could be done before you leave.
What's the Pennington County, is that little bit of our district that just runs up in?
Yakimal Road and them guys.
There's a piece in Hill City and
Yeah, a
then
little bit over that way.
Keystone and,
Okay, move on to policies and procedures. The Associate School Board has given us a list of amendments, and it looks like one new policy based on legislation from this year. And I believe the policy committee will be together to discuss all that. Sounds good.
Yeah, and just really looking at all these policies, just so everyone knows here, I don't think that you're talking about the formation of necessarily a policy for every one of these bills that was passed. There's gonna be some language that has to be just amended in a few of our policies. This is what's kind of scary about legislation, House Bill 1017, dealing with alternative settings. They pass a bill, but yet they don't have a process to what that looks like. You guys all know what that bill's about. It's that if you have a kid that does something in school, misbehaves, then you can basically force them to go into an alternative instruction setting. But what does that look like? Think about it. What type of behavior is it that leads to that?
What
So-
kind of alternative setting is that?
Exactly, yeah, so, but we will be working on that throughout the month of June and July.
Any questions, comments on those? Okay. Move on to curriculum and instruction, 9.1. Notice of consideration for handbook changes. These are bullet points of changes that our admin want to make in the handbook for next year for us to start looking at and thinking about. Next month, I believe, they will handbook for the year, is that correct?
That's our, yes, definitely, next month.
Okay.
So one of the things I just want to quickly add to this is that this is for Custer Elementary, Hermosa School, Custer Junior, Senior High School, but this is beyond just, so we know this, it's beyond just administration wanting this. This is part of when we have parent advisory committee meetings, meeting with people throughout the year, could be you guys in committees where we look at everything that's been discussed. And now we want to bring it to a head, and we want to try to work on the details of it. So over the next month, we will be looking at details that we can add into our handbook. For example, one of the big ones I've heard about this year deals with our elementaries, dealing with progressive discipline plans, developing a matrix for our elementary. Toby, you have a high school progressive discipline plan. And parents would really like that. With that being said, with a discipline plan like that, it's based off of your behavior, it's based off your number of infractions, and what's going to be the consequence. But obviously, with that, that's a guide, right? It's not no gospel or anything like that. It's a guide, so people can look at it. The other one I think that we're going to be spending some time on the high school level is looking at our activities code of conduct. I know Skylar and I have been visiting about it. I know Toby's had conversations with Skylar, but we want to make sure that that is crystal clear as we go into August 1, what that's going to look like for our athletes and for our families, for our coaches, so we can make sure that we're sharing that information out the right way. All right? Questions?
So did we get rid of Wildcat time, or that you're proposing moving it?
We're just moving it to the middle of the day, so everyone
Is it
can
needed?
take advantage of that.
It's basically an open time that we could be using for instructional time, right?
Right now, it's a time where they can go and get help from the teacher that they're in that class. We've had it for years, we're just trying to move it so that it's probably better utilized, if that makes sense. High school students came if they needed it, and it was okay, but I think having it during the day would be better utilized that way. Looking into the future, the sections continue to go down, as far as the numbers go, and staffing, we've had to kind of make some cuts that way. We'll look at maybe moving to a straight 8-period day where we have classes and that.
So if it's in the middle of the day and they just elect not to go, what do they do?
There's no electing not to go, everyone goes.
So basically, to study hall no matter what.
So right now they go, it's the first, right out of the gate during the day, right? Yeah, so as soon as they show up, they're in walk-in.
Good, they didn't have to check into the Wildcat teacher, correct?
Yeah, first grade, yeah.
Or some of the kids would have to get there in the morning, others straggling, what is it, 40 minutes?
We're about 30 now,
2 hours.
we shortened it.
Oh, that's just for most.
That would be bad.
And during that Wildcat time, they can't leave school, correct?
The only group that would be seniors if they have open campus and have all their work done and they have senior privileges.
So school's gonna start the same time the rest of the buildings start now.
7:50.
So all the kids gotta be there then.
Correct.
Well, maybe the teachers will be there to help the kids if they're there in the middle of the day.
Maybe.
I think that the work that's been done on the, with the schedule for the 26-27 school year, I think it's it's gonna be a big change. The one thing I just want to let you guys know, when parents call my office and they're concerned about that first period, that they know that their kids are being sent to school on time, right, to attend Wildcat time, but then they're not showing up. To their credit, the high school administration and the teachers, they're addressing it. That's the positive side of this. We are going to have more students on task with instructional time. That's a big positive change for us. So if you do that, now you can also start working on the rigor, right? And we can get those kids the help that they need, and the teachers will be there. We've got high quality people that will be there. They will be working with those kids with that time. The other thing I want to mention about Wildcat time, especially in the middle of the day, sometimes if you have an open period, this is my high school principal, part of me coming out, it does create other opportunities for kids to participate in some courses that can be offered at that time that they might not have been able to fit in before. Like if you look at instrumental music, a lot of schools will have a period of time like that frees up kids so that they could go do instrumental music or chorus or whatever it might be. So there's some potential for some really, I think, positive things with the changes in the schedule going forward, 26, 27. So now it's just gonna be time on task though, right? Thank you, Toby, for that.
Redo those and have other questions, please reach out to the building principals and or Tim. Move on to 9.2, driver's education program. Bob's not here, so here's our.
I just want input tonight on this. You guys have seen this. I think everybody's commented to me, they think it's a great idea, great concept, but there's just a lot of questions that are coming up with it. If we're gonna offer it, some of the things I've heard from you guys, if we're going to offer it, we wanna make sure we're offering it where it's going to be during the school day, and that all kids have an opportunity to do it. One of the things about the tuition, we'll just start it off and say your $400 tuition. If you have a $400 tuition, the positive thing about it, as Sarah talked about with our preschool, you're gonna collect some additional revenue, but what's gonna be the downside of that?
They're not gonna sign up.
They're not gonna do it, especially like with the information Sarah sent me July 7th, 6th, 7th. when they're not gonna offer the rebates anymore for insurance. So, I mean, parents were always willing to pay that for a while because you're gonna get that back. But there's insurance companies now are saying that they're not going to do that. So, you know, I guess where I'm at, I want to hear your questions, if I can answer them. Another question that came up was insurance wise, so I made a phone call during our facility transportation meeting to an old friend that's up in the ranks in EMC, and there is not going to be an insurance increase on it. I know it's EMC, but what they said to me is that you pay for those vehicles to be used at your discretion as a school. So, you know, it's like told them, it doesn't matter if it's myself driving it or Toby driving it or whomever that's in the school, it's how we use them. So,
I guess a big question I had, Tim, is how do we get another person, how hard is it to get certified like Toby is? Because if we're gonna have it offered at Hermosa and Custer, we need to, at minimum. I don't see Frosty covering all of it.
Oh,
You and I have been talking a little bit on how we could do that. And that would be a time where we would use that Wildcat Flex time possibly for that as well.
But how hard, so if you were to get certified, what's that picture look like?
He said it was 6 or 8 credits, $3,800, something like that. I think is kind of what you got to go through to get the certification.
So how hard would it be to step back in time and just turn this back into a class as a freshman?
An elective?
Well, it wasn't even elective when we were in school. I mean, you had health and driver's ed. That was a class required as PE was as a freshman.
health and driver's ed.
Health and driver's ed, you just split. One semester was health, next semester was driver's ed, or you were driver's ed and then health.
Yeah.
And so I've just often wondered, I mean, if you're looking at the tuition, what's it really take just to put that back into the district as a class? That's a requirement. And it didn't matter whether you had your driver's license or not, you had to take the class.
So there's a lot of school districts that are out there that are offering driver's education right now. They typically offer it to the middle school, 8th grade,
Sure.
as an exploratory class. The reason why they do it as exploratory class is to keep their numbers down. So, you know, you're looking at 14, 15 kids potentially, you rotate them quarter-wise out. And then at that time, you could do it where, you know, whoever's gonna drive them, in this case, it's Frosty because Mr. Paris is certified. So what you'd have to essentially look at doing is they would be probably driving before school, after school, or throughout the summer months. So just because, you know, if I take the course my first 8 weeks or 9 weeks, it doesn't mean that I'm going to drive immediately. I give you something where I'm busy with activities, doing all the different sports, right, after school. So I might be assigned to drive in the summertime. Now typically when schools do that, what happens is that driver then is paid, and I think he gives some mention to that in his proposal. That person's going to be paid then for those hours that they're driving those kids before school, after school, or throughout the summer months. Some schools, you know, require tuition for that. Some schools pick it up.
But if you made it a regular class, you could drive during that class period. Like Travis was talking about, it's a class, you don't have to drive after school.
That would be very difficult to drive during the class because you're talking about, you know, in this case, Mr. Paris, he's going to have kids that he's going to be rotating through an exploratory class or through a class throughout the year. You're not going to help me out, Mr. Cass, how many middle school 8th graders do we have between those? 50
Between
total.
both, it'll be about 60.
So you're not going to have all those kids in one class. You're going to have them rotated throughout. I don't know if you guys remember driver's ed.
We drove during.
Who's real very school hours?
Yeah. And then Big O would fall asleep and he'd drive to Upton.
Custer, well.
But I mean, I'm just wondering how would that fit in?
It's-
You know, I mean, to kind of look at that, because if he would take 3, you know, and then himself make 4 in the car. If it was class time, you went to the shop or you went to a study hall, you know, when you come to that part.
Yeah, I
You know, and I don't
I can
know.
understand that if you had a teacher, like a teacher teaching driver's ed. But I want to be really upfront with you guys, it makes me very nervous if I have a building principal that's going to be out driving kids for, how long is their periods? An hour for 60 minutes, and that person's not here. And it's on schedule for 60 minutes. That makes me nervous. So,
Well, I think it's a great thing to get their feet wet. I just think as we kind of move along, we might be able to fine tune it.
In the proposal, it talks about July 6th and 13th, which you, like, this summer? Next summer?
I'm thinking it's this summer, but honestly, you know, if you want more time to look at it as a whole, I think you would be probably wise to look at moving into a discussion again in July. And I think Frosty's gonna be here in July, so he can answer some of the questions. If you start doing that in July, I understand that he's got classroom work to do in July, and that kind of changes what you guys are asking proposal wise. You know, because if you're asking, you want it to be done during the day, a school day, the class is first. You don't drive first and take the class second.
Do you need the certification to teach the class or just do the driving?
You need to be a driver's ed certified to do the whole thing.
And I'm just asking if it,
Yeah.
it just seems like we're creating another stipend that we have too many of them already.
I just have a hard time with it because we just cut the budget so much. And now we're talking about doing another thing on the side to add more money back into the budget. Like I think it's a great idea. It's a great program. I just don't think it's the right time right now. That's at least where I'm sitting. I would have a hard time walking past somebody I know that we just cut their hours, and now I'm gonna give, not to point out Frosty, but to give Frosty more money. I don't know, it doesn't sit well with me.
You're adding a position, really.
And we're limiting it to certain kids. I mean,
Yeah.
whether we like it or not, that's.
Well, yeah, exactly. If a kid doesn't turn 14 until July 19th,
Yeah. or
then they
don't
can't
have
take the class.
There's a lot of families that just
Costs,
afford
order costs.
an extra $400 or $500.
What do kids do right now?
Nothing.
Drive to Rapid.
Yeah, take
Well,
a class in
Parents drive them
Rapid.
to Rapid.
Yes, they do it, like the classes aren't around.
Yeah.
No, there's
Yeah,
there's
there's,
kids that never take driver's
no, but it-
Yeah, you don't have to.
you don't have
You don't
to.
have to take
You
driving.
don't have to. It
What?
cuts, so basically, if you go through driver's ed, it'll take 90 days off of your suspension period to get your regular license.
So instead of waiting 9 months, you only wait 6 months. You get a learner's permit. Right now, you have to wait 9 months to get restricted. This would allow you to get it in 6 months. You get it 3 months quicker.
Well, and certain insurance companies will give you a break too.
So what?
You have to take the test.
His
take it
says
for
that it
the
waives
class.
the test if you take the driver's ed.
The written test or the driving test?
I think both.
Well, first of all, you gotta take the written test, and then you get to go drive with your parents or somebody 18 or older that's a relative.
And then you take the driving test.
Yeah, but you gotta drive before, I don't know, quite a while.
But you still have to take the written test just to get your.
Yeah, just to get your learner's permit, and after you
For
drive,
your learners.
for your 99 months with somebody, then you can go in, you can take the driving part of it.
Yes.
But if you go to a driver's ed class for the driving part of it, not the written part, just the driving part, then you can do that 90 days quicker.
Where we come from, you have to do it all. You can't not, that's why I was
Well,
wondering.
back in the day, day you turned 14, you could go and take the test drive, and
Restricted.
you were good.
Yeah, you were
You
just,
didn't have to be a parent or nothing.
Before we could even have.
Game on.
yeah, cruising up and down Main.
Yeah.
Terrifying. Oh my God.
Yeah, so
I didn't
effective
start
July,
driving semis
to,
on the highway
or to
till
answer your
12.
question, so July 7th, State Farm is no longer honoring driver's education.
So right now, it's just State Farm.
Just State Farm, correct. However, we are making more emphasis on good students, so
Right.
having those good grades. And also, State Farm has its own program, it's called Steer Clear, so as long as you don't have any accidents or
Right.
tickets, they're gonna reward you for that. And both of those, you can take longer, so like, let's say, Phoenix and Riley, they go off to college and they decide to go get their doctorate, they can keep that until they're 25, 26. Where driver's ed, that discount stops. So essentially, we're getting rid of a discount that a
Oh, yeah.
lot of kids aren't eligible for, and it's not gonna stay with them as long as some of these other ones. So again, just State Farm, but.
And one
Oh,
other
my
thing that
goodness.
worries me is if you do it in the summer, how long is that class? And it will limit them more because that's when a lot of families are going on vacations and gone.
And-
They might miss it.
Right, and I guess to step back to that, maybe if we've got them at 14 in the 8th grade and it's an exploratory and we do get them through the book part of it, maybe that's a right step. Because some kids have a little trouble getting through just the test,
Absolutely.
you know, to where maybe, I mean, as an exploratory to do that, I guess, and then maybe look at how we add in the option of driving later or something. So.
Do we know how much the stipend would approximately be? Like, just in general, in terms of,
Well, he's asking for $36 an hour
You have to have 6 hours of drive time for every student.
per each child, correct?
kind of?
Brandon, did you get this sheet?
Plus 30, 60 hours.
Oh, I didn't see that.
60 hours plus the drive.
I seen everything else, but not that chart thing. Oh, yeah. No, when I turned,
Greg, sometimes you gotta do it all.
when I,
You do anything,
when I
and
turned
not
14,
till you're 16.
yeah, when I turned 14, I walked in, took the test, and away I went.
It's terrifying. Especially for you.
Yeah, I know. My parents were terrified.
Flabbergasted right now.
All right, yeah, I haven't seen this.
Because you guys didn't send these questions.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was a
Don't
great
have to
idea.
Hear a lot of the questions.
Well, I just figured Larry would ask them all, so that's why I just. Okay, so 15's a breaking point.
Here's a breakdown of how it's across the curriculum.
That wasn't attached.
And what's it cost to convert a car over to the extra stuff?
You know, I think when we did, our car, the old Ford Taurus, and that's the one thing I don't think you need to worry about. You gotta remember, student drivers want to be safe, so you want just something that's durable.
Right.
When we did ours for the brake, it was $750. But that car, I mean, last forever with that break. I'm sure it's increased since then. It's been several years ago, so.
Maybe.
So basically, the more kids in the class, the more that person teaching it will get.
Well, that's based off of your driver's, the driving time.
Observation costs.
Right, but the more people you have in the class, it also is saving you money on the number of kids that you're having, that you're working with during the day part.
Charge them.
Yeah, if you charge.
Because I'm assuming that's what they charge in Rapid, right? The 425?
I think that's what he said in his proposal, something like that.
We have a car that's not being used.
So I guess we just need to decide if we want to think about it and have discussion in the next one, or how we want to proceed.
I don't think we can put any classroom time in between now and August.
I think right now we got a minimum table it for a month.
Yeah.
I agree.
Make a motion to table driver's ed till July.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. If you have questions, reach out to Prosecutor Tim, both. Before July. Move on to 9.3. Special Education Comprehensive Plan. Dr. Ron Frederick.
Well, it's just a requirement for the state that every June board meeting, we have to have an updated special ed comprehensive plan. Like I said, last year, your comprehensive plan was over 100 pages. I did get it down to 50. A lot of times we approve this plan and I put it on my shelf and I don't even look at it again until I have to propose it again for next year. So this next year, I'm going to pick out pieces. The directors around the state, we talked about how we can incorporate this plan and make it more user-friendly for our teachers. And so I'm going to add parts of the plan throughout the year into my newsletter for my teachers, just as a mentor piece, so that I don't just put it on the shelf and forget about it and pull it out when I need it for legal purposes. So it's a little bit easier to read when it's only 50 pages.
Any major changes that we should?
The only major change was, if there's a due process complaint, it used to be 90 days, and now they have 30 days.
Is that a state change? or is
Yeah.
that a-
Yeah.
Okay, anybody have questions on the comprehensive plan? If not, we need to have a motion to approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve the comprehensive plan.
I'll second.
Thanks, Heath and Corey.
And then Jeff, you'll have to sign it, and then I'll send it to
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Oh. No, definitely.
9.4, open enrollment application.
Okay, so I asked a few of you the other day to take a look at this slide. The slide went out today, but what it really is, just so you know, we're doing some things through social media, trying to generate some energy in school. The only thing that's changed on the application, I showed you guys that slide, that we just a little change where it just says accepting open enrollment. That's one of the things that I've never thought I'd ever see this before, but you're seeing it now, not only on the western side of the state, north central part of the state, eastern part of the state, but school districts are actually sending these things out, trying to get parents to look at all the good things that are happening in their district, and hoping that they're, schools are hoping that kids will consider their school. So I think there's a lot of really good positive things that we as a school district need to start promoting. And so some of the key things, just real quick here, is our early learners partnerships, talking about our preschool, our junior kindergarten, nurturing academic educators. I think one of the big things right now to look at is small classroom sizes. Even though we've gotten smaller as a district, we still have small classroom sizes compared to what's going on the eastern side of the state. I think we have to find ways and to look at how we celebrate and promote our 4-day school week. It's one of the things that I've talked to our administration team about, is generating a 4-day school week committee where we look at what we're doing, how we're utilizing that time, and then promote it. Our test scores are good because of how does it relate to the 4-day school week. Obviously, our career and technical education, our alternative classrooms, and I think we're going to, in the future, we're going to look at changing that alternative classroom education, that ACE brand. And I think we can do that through virtual, hybrid, and even traditional. It is interesting, this summer alone, I've taken 3 phone calls from families that live out of state that are moving to the Black Hills area, and this is what they want for their kids. Right? They don't want their kids to be locked into something that meets the traditional South Dakota Department of Education. They want us to go find a way to work with what they've done in their other states and be able to tie it together with what we have here. But there's just a lot of good things here that we need to be looking at, we need to let people know about, and that's what we put in our slide, and hopefully we'll see some open enrollment applications coming in. And even if they're not open enrollment, it's still all positive because our parents are getting to see what we offer, right? So it's good. That covers that.
Tim, are you still making, I don't know if it's related to any traction on the virtual high school here?
Yeah, I mean, that's actually, Larry, part of this. I think if you look at the end of the superintendent's report, we're going to be having some meetings talking about Toby, myself, I've been emailing with Clay about different things that we can look at going forward for 26, 27. I've had actually meetings in my office with a couple parents talking specifically about like a virtual academy. But the one thing I want to make sure everyone understands is that we don't want to dictate what this looks like, because if we dictate what this looks like, isn't that K-12 education, how we've done in the past? We want to gather input from our families, and then we want to build it around that. And don't think that's a free-for-all, because it's not, because we still have to follow, rules and regulations of the Department of Education and also the laws.
I just think that virtual academy here would get a lot of students back in our district that live here now, that parents just refuse to send their kids to Custer.
That's what we're gonna work on.
We've actually already been doing that, Murray, after Frederick and I, and we've been talking to a lot of them homeschool people. And we've got some to come back, and actually they have said the ingenuity piece that goes, K through 12, that it was better than what they were doing on their homeschool side. And then those credits that they take, actually then through an accredited institution, count towards graduation. So we've had a lot of students who live clear out of Formosa in different directions and things that have taken advantage of that, especially in the second semester when the weather's bad. We've tried to use even some the expertise of those homeschool families, because they have a lot of ties in with those other people, right? And so they can say, you can still do a lot of the reasons why you want to homeschool. This just also gives you a way to do your educational piece, so it's not something that's an additional cost to you.
Any other questions? on to. Okay, move on to overnight student travel request, 9.5. Jenna Frederick is taking FCCLA to state to compete in Washington DC
National.
National Conference. Students are fundraising for their costs. No cost would be for the advisor, which has been budgeted in the past.
Is that 1 to 4, so it's 1, 2, 4 kids are going?
No, one parent, or one chaperone.
Four kids.
How many kids are going?
I'm guessing
Just 4?
You have to qualify to get to go to nationals.
Holly's probably one. Holly Nielsen, I'm assuming.
I would assume she would.
Well, I know they're doing a fundraiser Friday at VFW, Indian Tacos, yeah.
So you see a motion to approve the request?
Make the motion to approve the overnight request.
I'll second.
Who was it? Correct. Any discussion?
So until their fundraising's done, we don't know what the cost of the district is yet.
Just,
You do know the cost of the district. Cost of the district is what we have to pay for Jenna's going. The rest of it is the kids are fundraising for.
which was in the budget already.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. On to superintendent's report.
Okay, mine is going to be really short tonight because I think we've covered about everything in here. I just want to give mention to, I talked a little bit about the different social media releases. There will be different social media releases coming out on both open enrollment and CTE community housing ongoing throughout the summer. Just special note on the calendar. I'm so appreciative of all the people that help support us on that school calendar because they find all the things where we missed it or screwed up on. But we did need to change the homecoming date. The homecoming date did not work well because we had a conflict with one of our teams. We're going to be out of the district at the time. I think we have cross country or something going to Huron or wherever it was out at. So we made some different changes, moved the date to homecoming to be October 16th. We listened to the advice of several and changing the open house schedule so that we have parents that can get to all the open houses. There was conflicts with, most of the families trying to go both places and couldn't get there, so we fixed that. We also starting a little bit later and ending a little bit later so that parents that are working can obviously get there. So the 26-27 school calendar looks good. We have professional development pretty much in place right now. The paras were instrumental in obviously selecting the days that they need to be there. I also just want to mention, please take note of all the upcoming meetings, and I will, as soon as these get scheduled, hard scheduled on my calendar, I will send them out because I'd love to have you guys participate. And some of these you don't have to participate in all of them, but it'd be good if you can find some time in your busy schedules to attend ones that you have interest in. I'm really looking forward to the CTE partnerships and CTE incubator meetings coming up, obviously strategic planning. Last thing is on June 24th, did I say tonight? For Sherry from Mavis.
Oh, 24th, yes, Sharice. Yes.
Sharice from Mavis. Okay, I finally have it that Sharice is our head of our Mavis group. What do I call her? Executive director. Executive director. She is going to be coming out to visit the Custer School District. I'll be trying to arrange a plan where I can, obviously, I'm visualizing in my head that I bring her here to Hermosa first, we go through Hermosa School, then I give her my tour of the Custer State Park, say hi to the buffaloes, whatever. And then we go into Custer and I'll show her obviously the facilities and show her a little bit about Custer. But again, if any of you would like to join with your expertise in this area, I appreciate it. So, all right, questions?
Yes.
Yes.
A while ago, you had talked about meeting the dates for graduation and criteria because they graduate before the 4 days, the last 4 days. Are we okay?
Last 4 days, it's like 8 days.
Oh, yeah, let's see.
Yeah, and it's actually, it has been sent in an email form, as I'm working on some accreditation things right now with a number of instructional minutes. So what Sarah's question is that a lot of school districts will do this, they have graduation scheduled on Saturday or Sunday, right? So seniors typically will be out of school on like a Monday or Tuesday if they graduate on a Saturday, Sunday. Our kids are out, I think, the week before that. Our seniors are. Is that right, Toby? So it's 8 days. So we have to look at that to find out, does those 8 days count as a negative on our instructional minutes for the high school? So that's the question. Yeah. And I'll be able to give you an answer on that hopefully soon. So. And what that would not impact our schedule, our calendar, just so everyone knows this. Calendar-wise, instructional minutes, you're fine. It's just what we have to do with our seniors.
Why do they get outsourced?
Tired of them.
They've done that since being Custer, I think. We were out here before.
Yeah.
I think all year I've been here, way before. You guys are ready,
Yeah, I
90s.
had the week before off.
Yeah, but
Keith is older than me.
like semester tests and stuff were different, at least the year I graduated. So if you had semesters, you took them like Monday, Tuesday, and then we got out Wednesday, Thursday. But if you didn't have to take semesters, then you didn't go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
And Friday.
8 days.
The only thing I remember coming back for was graduation practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They said we had to go to that.
We'll find out.
I don't see on here that you had homecoming. Oh, there it is. I was looking for a color, so never mind. Move on.
I'm good.
Okay. Any questions? Dr. Tim Frederick? Okay.
With this shed flyer thing,
Yeah,
is that just closed bids or you got it on, is Perdine doing it or?
yeah, we're advertising for it, that's the question.
Yeah, it just says you have to bid 25th.
That just closed sealed bids.
Yeah.
And we did put your name down for shed.
Not unless it's coming to my house. I ain't moving no more shit.
Any other questions? Move on to administrators' reports. We'll start with Kevin.
We kind of went over some of the bigger projects in the facility report. Plan on getting those done this summer. Right now we got the schools, all the schools for part, keep cleaning them. We're still focusing on cleaning up around the football field, and fencing that off and making a more secure area for trailer storage, equipment storage and stuff like that. But I just gotta give a shout out to everyone for stepping up and, going through each school. We got a short school, we got a couple positions open. We're definitely knocking that and get everything cleaned up, and I met with all the principals about going over what their wish lists and stuff like that were for each school. So just trying to knock out one thing at a time and hopefully get everything ready before school starts.
Did you ever find anybody to quote sandblasting them propane tanks that was butt?
I did, they never gave me pricing, they just said they have to be empty. And then, I was gonna work with the gas. In the summertime, lower the tank levels, the guy is out of Newcastle, I believe.
Do we own those two?
Yeah, we don't know where to use them. So, yeah, working with them, he says next time he's out in the area, he's gonna give us a quote. I'm not gonna have that until here recently, so. And then, yeah, hopefully, he'll have to make a little bit. But, this one, like, try doing it propane, I think.
No wrap on this. You got a wrap on.
Yeah, probably the rest.
Any other questions for Kevin? Dr. Frederick?
Well, I have my report there. Before I start, we do have our nephew in the crowd. He's sitting so diligently over there, and I'm sure he's just bored to death. But he's been staying with us for about 3 weeks, and it's Gunner. And even with the fun things, he has to tag along with them. And that's introduce you to him. I have my final child count numbers for June. I'm using June just to kind of wrap up my year. I have to do all my indicators and reporting on that. And then in July, I'll start getting ready for the next school year.
Any questions?
Last year.
Toby?
Well, when we hit all the stoplights in the park, and, you know, Buffalo and whatever else would come up, I think it hit it slow. So my apologies for being late. I probably could have left a little earlier. I only had everything going on in the park tonight. But I kind of feel like the kids. I'm like, come on, I gotta get there. Come on, so how it works. Graduation, thanks for coming. Those of you who could make it, awesome class. You were there for the awards tonight too. They earned a lot of money, and they say earned because they were very academic class and athletic. So they did a lot of activities and things, and so they deserved all the money that came from it. So kind of excited to see, you know, where they end up down the road. It's always neat when you send them off. It's like, all right, leave the nest and fly away and see what happens. Also some classroom pictures on there from kind of the last days. If you have a shed for sale, I would say cheap, but it's probably not. See what the bids come in at. Hopefully they come in pretty good. Working on schedules. We had some new student tours. So we've had new folks that have moved in and they're buying houses. So they're moving in from different states where obviously they're selling their house and probably making a lot of money and maybe for coming here and purchase one based on where they're saying they live at. So that's great. CDL, we did that. We had two of the three. I've got one student that still has to pass a couple, so hopefully we'll see what happens. They've got their CDL learner permit, so they just have to do the driving part. So kudos to them. We talked about the driving test being hard. The CDL test is about 10 times as hard. So I actually myself went, I talked to them about I don't know, some of you guys may know Travis knows obviously, but 18 speed. In those semis and big rigs. Oh, my goodness. I've driven this thing forever, but that 18 speed's a lot different. After you get these RPMs and double clutch, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So,
What do you do when you got two sticks?
Mark Nielsen's been good about, he's kind of let me put in some hours, and his truck still runs after he gets done as far as the gears are still there. Yeah, it's a little tough to learn how to do that, so I'm learning myself on that. Just some preliminary results. We took our math, ELA, and science smarter balanced, and so all areas were above the state by a little or a lot, except for our 8th grade ELA, and so we'll work on that. We've got more coming in, so I'm not real worried about that not going in a good direction. So we had ECT I think we, I always say sometimes the plans grow plans and not, and so we did our 8th and 9th grade plan, our pre-ACT, and then our 10th grade plan, kind of the pre-ACT for all those different grades. So our average came in at a 19 to a 19.7. We're not exactly sure where it's gonna come in because I don't know exactly how it works, but they make changes to how they're scoring the ACT, and so we're still kind of waiting on the exact numbers and what they come out with. And then they're coming up this summer, who are saying it's gonna be on that, but they're making their cut scores for the ACT on what students have to be, they used to have the proficient and partially proficient, advanced, and basic, and so they're gonna try to come up with those cut scores on the ACT. To me, I was pretty optimistic because I thought when you had all your students taking it, the state average, with just the select few that wanted to take it was about 21 in that area, 21, 22. So the state about a 19 point something, I think it's pretty good. I'll have all your students take it, so turned out pretty good. So I'm excited about that. And just looking at next year, because Larry's right. We think it's summer, but it'll be here for bringing along, snap the fingers. Be coming back in August. That's all.
Thanks, Toby. Any questions, Cody? Okay, we'll move on to 10.3, Partnership Council. You ready to talk? Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, people participating in the Partnership Council, you are welcome to share on this as well. But I just put some highlights in as far as what we've accomplished so far throughout the meetings that we've had. So far, we've looked at our student council and concession, separating them and Hermosa. Each one will receive a 2.7 stipend. We added that additional junior high cross-country coach. It's my understanding we've been doing that for a position for 8 years. You guys know that our cross-country numbers are really good. Very appreciative of the effort of the coaches on that. The self-evaluation forms, we'll be working on those probably in late July, early August, going into the 26-27 school year. As we said before, there's no issues with those. We approved at our last meeting for the family engagement time or engagement night. And this is a title program that we will, underneath 4.2, we will basically be paying for that through title funding. So every year that we jump into that grants management program, we're going to make sure that we have enough dollars in there to pay for the teachers' participation in that throughout both Hermosa and the elementary in Custer. We're also looking at our language added to the contracts, not the negotiated agreement, but to the contracts for failure to fulfill a co-curricular contract. Once we have that language all figured out, I will bring it here and show it to you guys. But I thought our last meeting was really good as we talked about the different possibilities as far as that contract not being fulfilled and what it would look like. We also talked about the co-curricular compensation standard. This would be looking at, like we talked about with our FFA, is that right? Like with our FFA program, if we determine that, we're not going to be able to do it because of lack of participation or for some other uncalled reason, that we would look at obviously getting the administrative team along with that person that was going to be coaching and advising and figuring out what would be the best way to go about potentially paying if they've done some work, but basically prorating it out. And another big one that we did change is we changed the language in our professional development reimbursement. If you guys recall, this is where we have the 4 8-hour days up to 32 hours that we were paying employees for professional development in the summer. So we're taking that language out. And now through our leadership teams that we have, through initiatives that we develop, that's the direction we'll be encouraging professional development, but it will not be a budget item of over $100,000 a year. It will be considerably less than We do have a meeting tomorrow, for our committee that has been put together to talk about the sick bank leave and leave without pay. And other than that, I think we have maybe one or two other topics to discuss, and we'll close out the 25-26 school year. So, questions?
I do have a question. We've been looking a little bit at the list that was sent out to us, all the different co-curricular stipends and stuff. Is that something that did get discussed in partnership council? Because it seems very skewed.
We actually did have a discussion. That's one of the things that we're gonna look at throughout the 26-27 school year, just reviewing the stipends. We had our last meeting, and we talked about it, and we got back to the office, and we started talking about even other scenarios with how things have changed with all those, you know, from how much people are actually missing, you know, being gone. We doing different types of comparisons. It's been brought up, is the work happening during the day? Is it a class that we're offering? So things like that, we just have to sort through it. Go ahead.
So basically, took a list last time and just kind of going through it, and it was given to us to go through and just look at every one of them and kind of just evaluate, you know, where we're at on them. Because some of them we're not using all, there was probably, 15 or so that haven't even been filled in the last 4 or 5 years that are on the bottom. So, but there was different ones questioned about it, you know, and it looks to me like no different than we did our school side of it. We also need to go through now and really address every one of them.
It's a big deal.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
over $300,000 direct cost.
So, and that's why it was like I said, like FFA, or if your program or whatever is not lack of participation. It wasn't really because you weren't there to do it, but you had no kids interested in it. Is it really your fault? Not really, but you put in a little bit of work, so we ought to prorate something to you. But if there absolutely was nothing, then we wouldn't do nothing.
But all them rates, are they set in a negotiated agreement somewhere?
Yeah, so that's set off of your salary, and then it goes into your percentage on your co-curricular table.
And the reason I say skewed is you have one sport that's maybe 6-7 weeks getting the exact same stipend as one that's double the length. Why are they the same?
So basically, when you go through and you look at that list, and every one of them head coaches at what, 8%?
12.
12, but it doesn't matter. Head
Doesn't
coach,
matter how long it is or how many kids it is.
no, that's what it is, head coach, boom.
At some point, I think
And I do agree,
deeper into the
when you've got a
budget.
short season, that's maybe not really, because depending on who takes that position, whether or not you've been there 3 years, 10 years, 20 years, is gonna vary on your 12%.
One of the things that we're gonna be looking at throughout I think you guys are well aware of SASD. SASD does a salary survey throughout the state of South Dakota, looks at all schools, if they're being accountable, responsible, they send their information in. It allows you to look at absolutely everything in the school and do comparisons. I think it's important that we do compare, you know, where other schools are at, because you know, what we're looking at for a football season, for the Custer Wildcats, it's the same thing that Hot Springs, it's the same thing as Bell Rapids, because you start at the same time, you end at the same time, well, not always in them, but you're playing in the championship, right? But we will look at that, and then you guys can kind of get an idea of like where we're at as a school. And some of those surveys are so well done, I mean, they break it down just like we do, where you're gonna see how many assistant coaches and stuff that they have as well. So you'll have a lot of information to look at.
So we started to address it, right?
It was alarming to me when I got this.
I know.
Anything else? Any questions? Okay, we'll move on to 11, Board of Education report. meeting. Meeting is July 13th in Custer, 6 p.m. Any questions on that? Any motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion.
It's too early for you.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say aye. I need all the board members to come over and sign this canvas. What? You done? Everybody.